Good morning. Hello. Toby was having a little dance, I think, to the music, which was very cool. We've got some good moves there. Good morning. Welcome to StoryHouse Church. We've got Laura, lovely Laura, with us.
We do.
And then we've that way. And then we've got Sam, and we've got, I can see a tiny head poking round as well. We've got Abigail and Hannah and Toby and Mike. So Mike's just probably eating the blueberry muffin.
Mike with the cup of tea.
Excellent. Excellent. And we've got Mike as well.
Abigail is actually on that side.
She's on that side. She's hiding, isn't she, Toby?
It doesn't mirror it.
It doesn't. It's really hard to see. There. So yeah, welcome to StoryHouse Church. Well, this is the second episode of like our new summer series, which is about.
It's all about telling a better story with our lives. So we're looking at the principles of great storytelling, reverse engineering that into our lives so that we can tell a great story with our everyday lives. And so we're going to be looking at that.
Yeah, and so we're going to be chatting to Sam and Mike about all the different roles that they have in their life and how God helps them kind of fulfill those roles on a day-to-day basis. So do stay tuned for that. StoryHouse is a coffee shop and a church, and the coffee shop has been closed due to the pandemic that has been going on, but we will be reopened tomorrow, Monday, 9:00, isn't it? So right. You can come and get your StoryHouse coffee and cake tomorrow morning.
Get your fix again.
So get your caffeine fix. So yeah, do pop in and say hi. It would be so great to see you there.
And talking about saying hi,
yes,
we'd love it if you said hi right now.
Yes,
we know who's joining us.
Definitely.
At the moment, we just see a number on the screen. Don't know what that means. So say hello.
Yeah, and we always have a question.
We do always have a question. I like to get the bants going early.
Yeah. So we're trying to. This is kind of linked with the theme today.
Yeah. So today we're looking all at the roles we play in life and how we can play a better role in our lives, all that kind of stuff. So what we want to know from you, as well as saying hello, is who would you want to play you in the film of your life? So if they made a film about your life, who would you want to play you?
Interesting.
So
we gave like Sam, Mike and Laura, they knew in advance.
Yeah,
so they've had a bit more time.
Didn't help.
Laura, have you got any thoughts? Like, who would you want to play you in a film of your life?
I really don't know, to be honest. I'm struggling to think of any actors that exist ever now. My mind's gone completely blank.
What about who played Katniss?
You can't drop that on me.
Oh no, you know the actress
Jennifer Lawrence.
I think Jennifer Lawrence.
That would be a good option.
Yeah, that would be mine.
Okay.
Well, I did go and see Black Widow this week, which is amazing. I highly recommend it to anybody.
Yes.
So maybe Florence Pugh.
Oh, she was cool. She was really good.
Yeah. She was very fun.
She was really good,
yeah.
and she's my age and she's blonde, so that works.
There you go.
Perfect. That's all you need.
Perfect. Oh, we've got some hellos.
Hellos. Morning to Rachel
from Yorkshire. I hope it's nice in Yorkshire this morning. Good morning, Jackie.
Morning, Jackie.
Nice to have you with us. Dave, what about you?
Okay, so John Krasinski. So off of The American Office and A Quiet Place and Jack Ryan series on Amazon, that John Krasinski. So, so superficially, just some similarities. Okay. Both got big noses, dark hair, all that kind of thing. But also like his gym vibe, that kind of low-key vibe from The Office is like, I feel like that's my vibe. That kind of like low-key energy.
Cool. Okay, I see.
So if John is free, and wants to play.
I don't know whether it would be film worthy yet, your life. I'm not sure.
Yeah, not so much.
I don't know. I don't think it would be a box office
smash.
No,
fair enough. Okay.
But yeah, Sam and Mike, is there any person, it could even be like a fictional character from a book, or I don't know, but anyone that you would like to play you in a film of your life?
I can't think of anybody at all. I think we're so out of the loop with any actors and actresses from today, because our viewing is just a little bit lower. So I think mine would have to be an animation.
Yeah.
The story of my life would have to be some like Disney film, even though I'm not very good at Disney films either. So I think I'd have to be some cartoon, and I can't think of who would do my voice.
Lion
I think
King.
like of a Pixar, like maybe a Pixar character.
Yeah. I'm thinking Fiona from Shrek is but the only thing I can think of.
Fiona from Shrek, she's very fun.
Who does
Was
that voice?
Cameron Diaz.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then does that make Mike Shrek? He's not quite got the ears for it, but you know.
Maybe I could have what's his name, Eddie, who plays Donkey.
Oh, Eddie Murphy, he's
Yeah.
He's
hilarious.
very like me, I think.
Yeah, I love Donkey. He's so funny.
I think Will Ferrell would do a good Mike.
I was thinking of Rowan Atkinson in his Mr. Bean persona.
Oh yes,
That would be an entertaining.
that would be. He's a very
I
good
love
vicar,
that.
Rowan Atkinson, as well, isn't he?
I love
If you
that.
see me in the kitchen trying to cook, you'd.
As if you feel like Mr. Bean.
Do you know what? There's a little phenomenon we've noticed with any British actors or actresses. They've all been in Casualty. So, like Mike, you have the one role that probably is film worthy. You probably had enough moments that would like make Casualty.
Yeah, definitely. But like Anne's on Operation Ouch, isn't she? So once Anne in church, she's on Operation
Okay,
Ouch.
Paul, morning, Paul.
Morning, Paul, in the next room. Good, Laura. Hi, Paul. I hope you're feeling better. I was trying to think. I have a cross between two. There's like in my imagination, I think I quite like Kate Winslet because I think she's an amazing actress. But also, I feel like I channel a bit of Miranda as well. So I don't know whether it would be like a hybrid of the two.
Yeah.
But I feel like
I feel
I
like
think it's more Miranda.
I have visions of Miranda doing Titanic now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she could do a good version of it. But yes, I'm very clumsy and very tall. And it is a feature of my life. So yeah, it probably would be Miranda.
Yeah. And you're also, a little bit posh and southern.
I'm not no, I've married a northerner, so I've gone down like my
Oh no, you traded up.
Oh really?
Seriously? Yeah, you've married John Krasinski.
Oh, we've got Paul Crichton.
Here we go.
Tom
Tom
Hanks. Amazing.
What do we think, Laura?
I'm not really sure where he's getting that from, to be honest, but I have it because he's just recovered.
Amazing. Oh, we've got Michael.
Oh, Michael also in the next room.
That's
Awesome.
right.
He's going for
Neil Patrick Harris.
Nice.
What about you?
Is that the kind of geek vibes there?
What do you think, Laura?
Yeah, maybe. I can kind of see it.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm being nice because it's live.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd be very complimentary of your family.
Nice.
Oh man. Well, do you say hi if you're watching, and do let us know who you would like to play you in the film of your life. Yeah, it could be a Disney character. It could be like I chose Miranda. It could be a fictional character or an actor or actress. We'd love to hear that. Amazing. So what's next? Notices.
What's next? What's next? Oh, seamless. Yeah, and this is all because we're looking.
We do organise. We do plan in advance.
We're looking at the roles we play in life and how we can play those roles better. This is our series of summer storytelling, where we're hearing people's stories and also how we can tell better stories of our own lives. So later, we're going to be hearing from Sam and Mike how they managed to juggle all the many roles that they fulfill in life while following Jesus. And alongside the usual stuff, we're going to have a bit of a fun quiz later. So get ready with your fingers to do the fun quiz.
Warm up with your fingers.
Yeah, get ready for that. Get ready for the quiz. Going to do some singing. We're going to do some praying. We're going to open up the Bible. A bit of teaching, all that kind of fun stuff.
What's happening tonight and what's happening next week?
Well, that's a good point. Yeah. So specifically stuff that's happening in the real world, that place still exists, which is exciting. Tonight in the coffee shop in StoryHouse, we are having our prayer and worship evening. It's going to be mostly prayer tonight because our worship leaders are on a well-earned break. So we're going to be praying for our area and going to be inviting God into that. So we're going to do a bit of a hybrid thing. So if you want to come join us in person, it's going to be starting 7:30. But if you come between 7 and 7:20, we will make you a nice hot chocolate or coffee or tea or something like that.
Which definitely helps with prayer.
Definitely helps with prayer. And then we're going to go be upstairs. But we're also going to have it on Zoom. So if you're not ready to come in person yet or you can't, we are going to be on our usual midweek Zoom link. And if you don't have that and you'd like to join us praying for our area, just head over to our website, storyhouse.community/connect. Fill in that form there, and we will let you have the link for tonight. And then next week we have Church in the Fields. We are all getting together for our picnic. So we're asking you to carry on registering for that. That just helps us to plan, helps to know who's going to be there. So if you're going to join us next week for Church in the Field, you go to storyhouse.community/picnic, fill out your details there, and then we'll see you next week.
That's 1 till 3.
1 till 3, behind All Saints and St. Fried's.
Yeah,
which is over
we're
in
doing
Thornton.
Fourfield Lane, but we can give you directions, and we can offer lifts if people need it.
We can indeed. And as always, it's weather permitting. So
we'll see. At the moment,
we've done really well so far, but this is the first time it's starting to look a bit iff. Do come and join us and sign up. Oh, we've got Laura. Good morning, Laura. Morning, Laura.
I'd love to hear who Laura thinks would play her.
In case you've missed this one, Laura, what we're asking is, who would you want to play you in the film of your life?
Yeah, I reckon hers would be like an Olympic athlete.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's enjoying the Olympics, but it's been great. We've done very well. I know. Yeah, the closing ceremony is happening soon, isn't it?
But stay with us.
Yeah. You can watch that later. So I think now
it's time to get our worship on. So we gather together to celebrate God and what He's done in our lives. Given our normal worship leaders a well-earned break, and we've even given Wren Collective a well-earned break because they've covered a lot this year. So that's been really good of them. So instead, we've got worship from Soul Survivor Watford, encourage you to soak in this or sing along at home. It's 10,000 Reasons.
Your song again.
Okay.
Amazing.
10,000 Reasons. Always disappointed they never list the reasons in that song.
No, it's a great opportunity to just like welcome God into this space. And especially as we're kind of like talking about story, it's always good to remember that we're part of a bigger story, and that's why we worship. So carrying on the story theme, Laura doesn't know, we've just brought her on to help us with this quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam and Mike, you can be ready with your fingers to like answer.
They can play along.
Yeah, you can play along. And do get ready. Oh, Laura's answered from the question earlier. We asked, what character would you like to play you in the film of your life? Laura, Kate Hudson. Yeah, okay, she's brilliant. I think I could definitely see that. Excellent choice. Okay, so we've got a film quiz, and this time it is about characters in stories and films.
Yes.
So hopefully there'll be something for all ages. Okay, so we're ready.
Get those fingers ready. Yeah. Get ready to answer. It's fast fire.
Yeah.
Fast fire? Fire.
I think that's the right word.
Quick fire.
Quick fire.
Quick fire. Fast fingers. Firing quickly. Answers at us.
So put the answer up on Facebook or YouTube when you hear the question, and the first one just gets glory.
Yeah.
There's no physical prize, but you just get the pride of being right.
I know, right?
Okay, so
we're ready for question
one? Are we ready? Yes,
okay,
we are.
We go. Right.
Okay,
here we
so
go.
let's see how this works. Right, so this picture, there's all these men here. Which fictional character have they all played? You may recognize them. If you do, we've got we'll have to share Victoria's answer in a bit. So yeah, which fictional character have all these characters played? It's a tricky one. This is over the years. He's first answers in from Ellie. Batman. Excellent answer. Well done. Okay. Right. So.
Batman. Okay. Well done, Ellie. Okay. First one in there.
Next picture.
Okay. Next picture.
So hopefully you recognise the film. If you recognise the film, give us the answer. But I want to know the name of the two children in this picture. Ooh, I used to watch this all the time when I was younger.
Brilliant film.
It's a brilliant film, isn't it? Like a classic. Like I cannot think. Mary Popping. I love that because Sam's typed it so quickly. Mary Popping. I'd love to think of it like popcorn.
So Michael and
what's the girl's name? Anyone got any other thoughts? Michael looks very happy there, but what is his sister's name?
So is that right? Is Michael?
Yeah, it is Michael.
Oh, well done.
So we're halfway there.
That's good. Okay, so his sister's name.
What is Michael's sister's name in Mary Poppins or Mary Popping? I quite like that.
Mary Popping.
Mary. Oh, is it? No, we haven't got anyone else. I thought there was another. No.
It is home to the worst accent that's ever been on any film ever, though, isn't it?
What do you mean? Whose accent's that?
The cool blimey, governor.
Yeah,
I'm a chimney sweep.
That's what makes it, you know.
When you're a kid, though, you don't notice that. But yeah, anyone know?
We'll allow Googling at this point.
The children's names. Of
I'm
Mary
really
Poppins.
surprised I've not had any comments from other rooms in the house because there's some big Mary Poppins fans in here.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. No one's paying attention to the kids' names, though, bless them.
I know. It's a tricky one. It did take me a while to remember this because I used to watch it so much. But yeah, what are the children's names? We'll give a few more seconds. Charlotte. That's a good no.
No, okay.
But it's a good suggestion.
The names are on the DVD cover.
Okay,
no
shall I?
Yeah. I think that's a forfeit.
Jane and Michael.
Jane and Michael.
So yeah, unfortunately their names weren't on the DVD cover. Okay. Right. Next one. Okay. So this is from the film Die Hard, and this is John McClane's wife, but what was her name? I gave quite a lot of answers there. I could have said which film is she from.
So her name lends itself to the great debate around Die Hard, which is whether it is a Christmas movie or not.
Okay. Yeah.
Mike's come with Mrs. McClane, which actually she's not even that at the start of the film. Oh, here we go. Paul Crichton's got it.
Holly. Yes, well done.
Nice.
Yeah, that's right. You can tell he's very clever.
Yeah.
Straight in there. Okay, next question. Okay, this is one of my favorite Pixar films. do you know the names of the different emotions that these characters play? So
So
obviously
we're looking for 5 answers.
5 answers. But what are the names that each of these characters play? What's the emotion that they represent?
Okay, so Headley's in there with one
Joy.
straight away. We've got
Yes,
Joy.
I love Joy.
Joy in the middle.
I
Left.
think Joy could play Libby in a film of Libby's
100%,
life.
yeah.
So yeah, I think there any other.
So we've got one of the
thoughts?
5. We've got Joy. So what are the other ones there?
Yeah,
Younger people, especially.
Any other angry? Yes. So angry is. I think you
Anger's
could
one of them?
probably recognize which one's the angry one.
The little fella on the right there.
Yeah. He represents anger. Oh, Jane. Yes.
Sadness. Yes.
Sadness is wearing the turtleneck jumper.
Yeah. So we've got Sadness and Joy in the middle there. Anger on the right. So we've got 2 others left.
These are trickier.
These are harder.
This guy, the guy at the very end, the purple guy, I think he will be going into overdrive during COVID. So yeah. And the green, I think the green one's one of the hardest.
Yeah.
So
She's my favorite, to be honest.
Yeah. We've had which of these emotions? We've had think of other emotions maybe. So we've got joy, angry, sadness.
Yeah, so the green one, she's kind of wearing that expression on her face.
Yeah. Think of a teenager, maybe. No, that's close, Paul.
Very close.
Very close.
Very close.
So yeah. Should we give that one?
Should we give that one?
That
yeah.
one's fear. So the purple guy's fear.
Fear, yeah.
I think the green one's quite hard.
Yeah.
Laura, do you know what the green one is?
Disgust.
Yes.
Yes. Well done.
Well done.
Nice.
Amazing.
Okay, brilliant.
Okay.
Okay, so next
question. This
Hello.
is a very famous film
Mhm.
that hopefully you'll recognize. Who played the park owner in this film, Jurassic Park? What was the name of the actor? I reckon Rich might get this one. So what was the name of the actor in this film? There's been quite a few Jurassic Parks, haven't there?
So we're talking about the first one.
Yeah.
The original.
The original Jurassic Park.
With a famous brother. This guy
Yeah,
has
he's got a famous brother, if that helps.
Who's also into wildlife.
Yeah. So who played the park owner in the first Jurassic Park? Ooh. Yes.
There we go.
I knew they'd get that. Richard
Smileys.
Attenborough.
Look, I love that
Amazing.
Richard's playing at the same time.
Yeah. I
he
think
actually
they're
technically
playing
got there
against
first.
each other.
Yeah.
Okay, next picture.
Okie dokie.
Who is this character?
Who is this?
Who is this? Hopefully the facial hair might give it away.
Name and title.
Daddy. Well, actually, they do.
See, we're straying into territory we don't understand
I know.
here, don't we? So this might be right.
This could be right. No, it's. Oh, we've got 2 rabbits.
Mr. Rabbit, Daddy Rabbit.
I was under the impression that he's not a rabbit.
Okay.
From what I was Googling, Grandpa Pig.
Grandpa
no,
Pig.
no.
He looks pretty rabbit.
I know he does, but apparently, what's that? He's from another country.
Okay. I'm just going to Google that to double check.
Yeah. on Google, this. Yes, he's French. Yes, Sam, he is French. What is his name? What is the name of this character in Peppa Pig? He's French.
Oh, no, you were right. Yeah, definitely.
He looks like a rabbit, but he's
he's
not a rabbit.
And he is French.
And he's French. So the beginning of his name is a French word. And the animal he represents, yes, he's a donkey. He's a French donkey.
He's a French donkey.
What would you call a French donkey?
Oh, so close.
So close.
Put these 2 together, Monsieur Hare and Mr. Donkey, and what would you get?
Monsieur Donkey. It's Monsieur Donkey.
It's Monsieur Donkey.
There we go. I don't think you didn't. Yeah. So Monsieur Donkey. Yeah, well done, guys. That was because he doesn't really look like a donkey.
No, he didn't.
That was obscure Peppa Pig knowledge. Okay, next
Okay.
one. Who won the Oscar for writing this 2010 drama? You might know what the film is. If you do, let us know. But who was the person that wrote this film, that wrote the script? He likes writing a lot of words.
Yeah. Can I answer if no one else answers?
Yeah, you can. Laura, do you know which film it is?
No.
It's about a social media. It's about
It's the social network, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's about the story of Facebook.
That's about the extent of my knowledge with this.
Yeah. So who wrote the script of this film?
Yeah, as Lisa said, he's known for writing wordy.
Ellie's got.
Ron Howard? No, not Ron Howard, but good shout.
Yeah, he's done. He also wrote a series about the White House.
Mm-hmm.
The same guy. So yeah, who wrote?
And A Few Good Men, which we watched for the first time the other night.
Who wrote the film The Social Network? Who created it? I'll give like 30 more seconds and then you can answer, Dave. He doesn't know the answers in advance.
I don't.
Okay, Dave, what's the answer?
It's Aaron Sorkin.
Yes.
Okay.
Next picture.
One.
Okay. This is a guy who is this character first from Frozen? Does anyone know?
Mm-hmm.
But also I want to know, how many brothers does he have?
Ooh, so who is this and how many brothers?
Oh, Hans.
That's Hans.
That's Hans.
That's Hans.
Do you
Straight
know
on with the
how many brothers does Hans from Frozen have?
11.
It's very close. You're one out.
Ooh. But which way?
So, old Jane, you're one out.
Okay. So that
Which
should make the
number
answer
is
obvious.
it?
Who can get it in there first? Who can get it in there first?
It's one out from 11 and 12. Yeah,
there we go.
He has 12 brothers.
12
Excellent. Okay, right.
That's very biblical.
It is very biblical. Hans is biblical. There we go. Okay, who said this? I am serious and don't call me Shirley.
We have the character or actor?
It can be either.
Either, okay.
Character or actor. You may know the film as well.
Love this
I am
film.
serious and don't call me Shirley.
Love it so much.
So yeah, Laura, have you any thoughts? Is it?
Do you recognise this quote?
I do, and I don't know why.
So yeah, who said this quote? It could be the actor, it could be the character in the film, and do let us know.
Or if you can give us the film as well.
Yes,
Yes,
Rich,
it was
Leslie Nielsen. What was the film, Dave?
Airplane.
Airplane. It's a very funny film. Okay, next. Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, how many James Bonds have there been?
Ooh.
A guess. How many? Throw us a number.
Let's go for
How
some
many
wild
James
guesses.
Bonds have
Unless,
we
of course,
had?
you do actually know.
Yeah. How many James Bonds have there been in all the James Bond films? How many James Bonds?
This is how many actors have
Yes.
played James Bond.
How many actors have played James Bond?
So how many different actors have played? Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun,
What kind
ba-dum,
of number?
ba-dum,
10.
10 from the head loop.
Close, but not quite.
Okay,
You're a
close.
few.
Is that warm?
I'd say that's warm.
Warm. Okay, we're warm on 10.
Warmish.
Okay.
Laura, what have you got any guesses?
Kathy also shooting in there with 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, warm. Let's go.
12? Is it us 12 again?
No, it's a bit lower. It's lower.
Rich has gone for 6.
Rich, you're very, very close.
Oh,
Rich
is close.
is hot. He's not.
Kathy's
That
gone
sounds terrible. Yes,
7.
Sam, 7.
Nice.
7 James Bond,
Oh, look at that,
007.
Nice.
Very good.
Star points.
Yeah, Mike gets points for style. Okay, this is the final question. Who is this dog? This famous dog. What is his name? And for extra points, which film is he in?
I was going to say, which actor played?
Which actor played? What was the name of the original dog? What is the name of this dog, this famous dog, and which film was he in?
A little terrier.
Yeah,
Scruffy
he's very
terrier.
cute. So yeah, what's the name of this dog?
This famous dog.
Paul.
Paul in there is Toto.
Which film was
And Henry.
Toto in?
Wizard of Oz.
Well done.
Look at that.
Excellent. Well,
And
guys,
Ellie in there just afterwards as well.
very good.
Nice.
Okay, well done. That was excellent.
Yes.
That
Good
was,
stuff going
There was,
on
there was a definite range in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I tried to cover it all. I was worried when Monsieur Donkey looked like a rabbit, but
Yeah.
I think that's the Peppa Pig artistry.
Yeah, we're not too. That's not a strong suit.
No, but I know Peppa Pig is very popular. Okay, so well done, everyone. We'll
Well done.
continue with the quizzing
Mhm.
next week. But yeah, we're talking about the roles that we play in our lives, and those quizzes were all about different characters and the roles that they have. And so we're going to chat to Sam and Mike now now.
Yeah, so
So
we're going to boot Laura off. See you,
Laura's
Laura.
coming back later.
We're going to see more of her later. She's going to go. I'm going to have
Let me
Sam
just
and Mike come back.
Bring up the questions and say, yeah, Sam and Mike have been part of StoryHouse Church for a while now, which has been amazing. And Mike's also a trustee of StoryHouse because we are a charity, so he's one of our trustees. And Sam does an amazing job with StoryHouse Kids as well. But we just wanted to spend a bit of time with Sam and Mike today, asking them about the different roles that they have in their lives. And so to start with, Sam and Mike, can you just tell us how do you spend your week? What are the different things that you get up to during your weeks?
Well, the majority of my week on a school day is taken up with walking up and down my road, as my neighbours will say. They'll say, "Are you going past again?" So I'm usually on the school run. I've got the 3 children that you'll have seen already. So usually in a weekday, it's taken up with school runs and washing, minimal cleaning. Most probably, should do a little bit more of the tidying and cleaning, but the day-to-day household stuff. And we do the kids' work. So at the moment it's been once a month, but also putting together kids packs. And before lockdown it was story time. I'd love to get back involved when things were a bit easier. And I do a tiny bit of tutoring as well, because before the children came along I was a full-time maths teacher. So that's how I do my week.
Amazing.
Yeah, my week, I'm an A&E consultant at Whiston, so that takes up most of my week and some weekends. I normally do a late on a Monday and then relatively normal rest of the week. When I'm at home, just family stuff. And then I said StoryHouse, Wednesday and Sunday, and then some trustee meetings in between.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah, I forgot the church stuff, didn't I? My usual.
Well, no, you said StoryHouse Kids as well, so yeah,
You did.
Yeah, Sarah and Mike are brilliant at coming along and showing up to stuff. So, it's a lot of different things that you guys have in a week. A lot of different spaces, a lot of different people you're connecting with. How do you balance all these roles that you have?
Sometimes it is a bit like a juggling act. Not sure exactly whether sometimes we get the balancing in the right order, but we try to have healthy priorities. So I think definitely with lockdown it realized that we're like many families actually, that perhaps we were running from one activity to the next. And that helped us slow down and do quality stuff. So deciding which stuff is actually really good. Church has always been a big priority for us as a family. So we've obviously had a week with fitting in with house group on a Wednesday night. Sometimes even when you're not feeling like it, it's actually really good for you and really good for your spiritual walk. So to that, and then Sunday with church, we love doing it as a family. We love how StoryHouse is like one giant big family, one big crazy morning. That's still what it's like. We're on lockdown, online. So yeah, it's just trying to decide what is the right thing, and for us, making sure God is in there in the middle is important.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, I think that the kind of work home split is okay. I generally manage to do my work at work and leave it there and come home. And then kind of family life is generally pretty busy. Less so obviously with lockdown, but lots of running around. But just kind of keeping church stuff is a big family thing for us. So that's important. And then just kind of building the God stuff into the rest of
Amazing. No, that's really helpful. I think that thing of knowing what the priorities are, because like you say, there's so much going on. It's kind of juggling it all, but helping to know what the most important things are does definitely help with that. And so that kind of moves on to the third question, how does your faith help you fulfill the different roles that you have? How has your faith helped you over the years and now as well?
So work-wise, I think I always wanted, kind of what you want to be like. I want to be good at my job and nice to work with. And I kind of, it's the same. I've kind of built maybe a bit more of a framework around that. So when you pray the Lord's Prayer and you pray, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as in heaven. So I kind of see that as being trying to make wherever I am a bit more like heaven than it is, after how it would be if God was completely in charge. So you can take that into work, and there's lots of different ways. I think being good at your job is a big part of that. being conscientious, also kind of knowing when it's time to go home as well, and setting that example that it's okay to go home at the end of a shift. I think you often at work deal with people who can be difficult to deal with, and that probably not as much as I should do, but I try and kind of keep that everybody's made in the image of God and deserves respect, and love your neighbors, you'd love yourself. Try and see things from their point of view rather than from my point of view, which is quite different. And then at home, whether you so I'll talk about the work so we can talk about home.
Faith has my personal faith has helped me loads in lots of different ways. And like I said earlier, I used to be a maths teacher beforehand, but I didn't go straight into teaching. And the faith really helped me find my way. And one of the things being that I suddenly realized, actually, being good at maths and enjoying maths was from God, something that he'd given me. And so that's how I got into teaching, because I just thought it was important to use that and to use the love of it to help others, but also a bit like what Mike said about the attitude towards other people, is trying to get people to reach whatever their potential is, and to celebrate people's potential regardless of what that is, because we're all different with all different gifts. And so that's why I tutor now, is because I love the maths. It actually re-energizes me. I'm a bit crazy like that, but I do recognize that it is a gift, and so I like to use it, and I like to use it to help others. So faith has helped me with that. Faith has also helped me loads family wise, and as I said, with the story time and the kids work, it's just kind of like playing a part, realizing that we're not on this journey on our own, and not trying to do everything on your own, but playing no, sweetheart, sorry, Toby wants to
That's okay.
The playing that part that we've talked about when we've done the Ephesians stuff has been about the body of Christ, and all playing a part and all doing a bit, and so the part of life that we're in at the moment is with the young children, so it kind of like fits and goes. So we play that part. We think it's so important and valuable. In family life, it's that I'd kind of say that it's a huge responsibility having these young lives that you're shaping, and trying to keep safe on a day-to-day, and fed and watered and all that. Stop interrupting you. But yeah, it's that big balance and that big responsibility, and sometimes it's a bit overwhelming and a bit scary, and we don't always get it right. So modeling the forgiveness and the repentance, but also just knowing that God is in control, that God has a bigger plan and a bigger picture than we can ever imagine, and that he is in control. And one of the big things about that we've come across with our walk with the age of children is that primary schools and applying for schools is such a big stress and a big it does dominate your thoughts and your processes. Can you take a minute? A big thing. So when we applied for schools for Abigail, our oldest, we weren't sure. We went around, we looked around, and we thought we'd got where we wanted them to go to school. One of the reasons why we came to Crosby as well. And you go through and you apply, and you look, but we prayed about it loads, and we didn't want it to be a big stress, but we did want to obviously get it right. And it's that realization that God has got the best for the children. He has got it mapped out. He knows where they're going to go to school. He knows this, he knows that, and he wants what's best for them. And actually, when it came to it, our children didn't get the first choice school. We didn't get the school that we thought we wanted them to be in. We didn't get the faith school. But they got our second choice. But when it was even before we got the results, even though before we didn't get it, when the email, we just had that amazing peace that regardless of which school they would get in our ranking, they would get God's number one choice for school. And so that did give us a real peace. And I think that's an example of where faith has really helped us of, we may think that we've got it, and we may think that we know what's right, but God has. And actually 3 years down the line, or is it 4 years? Can't remember how long Abigail's been at school now. She's going to year 4, so I think that's 4 years down the line. It definitely has worked out that way, that we have seen that it is God's first choice, and it's been definitely by far the best place for them to be.
Amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
no,
But as you see, it's a juggling act, and we can't balance it all.
Yeah, totally. I think like
Yeah.
what you said about grace and like forgiveness, and just it's just kind of each day is a new day, and like, I think we can put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect and have everything sorted, but it is a juggling act, and yeah, putting our faith in God that he's got a bigger plan definitely helps take the pressure off as well. But no, we're just so grateful to have you guys as part of the church family, and you give so much. And do get in touch if there's anything from Sam and Mike's story that's helped you, or that if you got any questions or anything. And if you'd like your children to be involved in StoryHouse Kids that Sam runs, then do get in touch as well. You can sign up for that on our website. And hopefully when we all meet in person, you can get to meet Sam and Mike in person as well. So thank you so much, kids, as well. But thanks for sharing your story. Thank you. Cool. Okay. It's time for the Bible.
It is, yeah. So we're in this series of storytelling over the summer, of hearing people's stories, just heard Sam and Mike's, but also looking at how we can tell better stories with our own lives. And for that, this morning, we are going to turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and Laura is going to read that for us now.
So, concerning change of status, verse 17, nevertheless, each person should live as a believer in whatever situation the Lord has assigned to them, just as God has called them. This is the rule I lay down in all the churches. Was a man already circumcised when he was called? He should not become uncircumcised. Was a man uncircumcised when he was called? He should not be circumcised. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing. Keeping God's commands is what counts. Each person should remain in the situation they were in when God called them. Were you a slave when you were called? Don't let it trouble you, although if you can gain your freedom, do so. For the one who was a slave when called to faith in the Lord is the Lord's freed person. Similarly, the one who was free when called is Christ's slave. You were bought at a price. Do not become slaves of human beings. Brothers and sisters, each person, as responsible to God, should remain in the situation they were in when God called them.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. And apologies. You only found out this morning just how many times you'd have to say the word circumcision this morning. Apologies for that. We are looking at this whole thing of storytelling and how we can tell better stories with our own lives. And today we're going to look at this idea of the roles that we play. And I'll start off with a bit of an observation, and that is that two different actors or actresses can play the same role and bring something really different to it. So let's start off with Sherlock, for example. A ton of different people have played Sherlock Holmes over the years, but two of the recent examples have been Benedict Cumberbatch and Robert Downey Jr. So Robert Downey Jr.'s was much more kind of comedy, slapstick, fun, very RDJ, like his kind of way of doing things. Benedict Cumberbatch's was way more gritty, realistic, kind of showed the sides of addiction and all of that kind of thing. So two actors bringing their own kind of unique energies to a role and ended up making it something very different altogether. And then when I was asking Lizzie about, what would she think about in terms of comparing two different actors who played the same role, she went to the controversial subject of Pride and Prejudice and who gets to play Elizabeth Bennet. So for her, definitively, it's all about the BBC version from when she was growing up, and Jennifer L, who played that, and more recently doesn't feel like Keira Knightley was well cast as Elizabeth Bennet, and maybe didn't give the role what it needed. So, as two different actors or actresses play the same role, they can do it very differently, but they also can do it, better or worse, arguably, depending where you sit on the whole Pride and Prejudice debate. And so it is for the roles that we play in life. We bring our own kind of energies and selves to it, and we can do it in really different ways. And when we're talking about roles, we're talking about the things that we fulfill in life. So we're talking about, wife, father, business owner, sister, writer, creative, athlete, accountant, teacher, Christian, friend, you name it, all the different things, the relationships that we fulfill and the things that we do in the world. That's what we're talking about. And typically speaking, most of us should be able to write out all of our main roles in about 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 different roles that we fulfill in life. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about roles, those different things that we do and the relationships that we fulfill in life. Now, as we started off the whole thing today, who would you want to play you in your life? Who, if they stepped into your shoes and played the role of your life, you think would bring a really good kind of energy to it? And then could you imagine different actors or actresses fulfilling that role in the different kind of ways that they would do it? So, I said earlier, John Krasinski, got him nailed on to play the role of me in my life. I just need to work on making my own life kind of movie worthy, so there's a bit to do there. But, if I manage to do that, do something extraordinary, then maybe John would be available to play me. And it's one of the things we say a lot at StoryHouse is kind of, what would Jesus do if he had your life? If Jesus was to play the role of you in the film of your life, what would that look like? What energy would he bring to it? How would he play that role out for you? And that is exactly what our passage is about today. And our key verse from our passage today is from 1 Corinthians 7:17. Each one should retain the place in life that the Lord assigned them to, and which God has called them to. What this is talking about is that God has put two callings on our life, assigned by the Lord, called by God. And one of those callings is to follow Jesus, to be a Christian. That's what he calls every human being who's ever lived to do, is to come follow Jesus. Jesus made that invite a general invite. Whether you've taken up that invitation or not yet, that invitation stands for every human being who has ever lived to come and follow Jesus. So that's the one we think is obvious. And when we think of, when we talk about God's calling on our life to come and follow Jesus, that seems really obvious. But interestingly, it says that God has given us a second calling, or assignment, as the NIV puts it. And that is the roles we play in life. And so written to these people 2,000 years ago, they had, some were wives, some were slaves. They're two of the people that this is written to. Others headed up households. Some had enormous businesses. Some, were right at the bottom of the social ladder. Everyone had these different roles to play in life. And what it's saying, really interestingly, is not only has God called you to follow Jesus, which they knew about, but he also placed you exactly where you are. That is part of God's call on your life. Now, this doesn't mean that you are forever locked into those roles. And, part of this passage is actually talking to slaves at the time, saying, if you get your chance for freedom, go for it, type thing. But, more or less, you can fulfill the following of Jesus in either of those circumstances. So it's not saying wherever you are and whatever you do right now is locked in for the rest of your life, but it is saying that God put you where you are right now, and that is the place where you are to follow Jesus. So, another way of putting this is God has put a call on your life to follow Jesus, but he has also given you a context in which to follow that out. And this is one of those things that just blew my mind when I was reading this passage and thinking about what it said to us today, is that, we're so individualistic in the West, and we're so used to kind of sectioning off all the different parts of our lives that we can think of ourselves as, being Christians as a kind of private thing or a personal thing or an inward thing. And that it's us that become a Christian. The technical term for this is sanctification. That, Jesus makes us holy and pure. That's what we looked at in Ephesians. Everyone who follows Jesus is a saint. It's a new designation that's given to us, but also that we live into that new identity, that we become holy people. We become people who are like Jesus. But here's the amazing thing, is that if we choose to follow Jesus, it's not just us that gets sanctified, become holy, become like Jesus, but every connection that we have, all of our roles, our role as a mother, as a father, as a child, as a brother, as a sister, as someone who temps in an office, someone who's a teacher or a doctor, or, all of these roles also got sanctified, also became a Christian alongside us. Jesus is transforming the whole thing. not just us and our private lives, but all of our connections and all of the things that we do in the world. It's not just Jesus in our heart, it's Jesus in our roles. It's Jesus, as a family member, as a friend, as whatever job you have or things that you do in the world. If you are a business owner and you become a Christian, it's not just you privately sectioned off over there that becomes a Christian, but also your role as a business owner is now forever changed by Jesus as well. If you became a Christian in your family, your relationships are never going to be the same again. How you relate to the rest of your family has changed. You now relate to them as Jesus would relate to them, and same in your friendship groups. Or, if an important part of you is your creative output, if you've got a particular hobby that you do, if you love gardening or painting or creating, whatever it is, or you're really into your music, that also got baptized when you got baptized, if you have been baptized and you choose to follow Jesus. Or if you've not made that decision yet, know that it's going to be the whole of your life that comes under Jesus and not just the private bits of it. And that is exactly what is happening in this passage here. 1 Corinthians 7 is Paul is writing to this church that he founded, and he's writing to people in a few different situations. But the big one is there are people who are withdrawing from their marriages for a couple of reasons. One is because they're married to non-Christians and they think that they can't do that as a Christian. And the other one is that people think that the celibate life is more holy than the married life. Like, married life is second place. And interestingly, this has actually generally been the default position of Christianity throughout history, is that single celibate people are more holy than people who are married. And it's only in the last kind of couple of hundred years, especially in the Protestant part of the church, that the thing swung the other way. And we decided that, it's only people who are married who are really living the good life and all that kind of thing. But this passage endorses neither of those sides and actually says, bloom where you are planted, follow Jesus where you are planted, whether that's in your marriage or outside of it, whether that's in a marriage where, you're both Christians or just one of you are, because there was all kinds of mixed marriages at the time, because quite often it was the women who were becoming Christians and the husbands weren't. Back in the day, if the husband became a Christian, quite often the rest of the family household would do as well. Won't get sidetracked into that, but a very common situation early on was women who were becoming Christians, and the rest of the household wasn't, and there was questions around what that meant for them, and that's what this was written to. But there's also, as we have seen, there's a form of slavery at the time, which is different than the slavery that we know. It still wasn't a good thing, but it was very different. It was bond servants. So people who are equivalent would be people who are on minimum wage, like right at the bottom of the social ladder. But you could work your way out of that and become a freed person, which this passage also talks to. And, some people, because they've been given freedom in Christ, felt that they could no longer be bond servants. They could no longer be at the bottom of the social ladder, essentially owned by a family or by a person. And what Paul is saying is, like, whether you're free or not, you can follow Jesus in both of those circumstances. And actually, wherever you were when Jesus called you, that's where he called you to. And interestingly, he says, basically the setting is almost irrelevant, because Jesus has turned everything over. And he picks on two of the biggest barriers that there were in the world at the time. So there was the social barrier, free people and bond servants or slaves, and then the religious barrier of the circumcised and uncircumcised. And he takes these two big barriers, one social, one religious, the biggest two barriers that the church would have experienced, and said, basically, it's irrelevant. You can follow Jesus wherever you are. No one job is more important or more holy than another job. No one religious standing is more or less important than another. Now, when Paul, that might not sound like nothing to us, or quite pleasant or quite progressive or modern or whatever. But when Paul was writing it, that would have been incredibly scandalous. To say that circumcision or uncircumcision was irrelevant was incredibly shocking, because to the Jewish people that Paul was writing to, circumcision was everything. It was the sign, the physical sign of the covenant between God and his people. It's what separated them out. It was what showed that they belonged to God, and God was, they were God's people. But Paul had his life transformed by his own call. Paul was a persecutor of the church. He was trying to stamp Christianity out. And then on his journey to go arrest some Christians, Jesus spoke to him directly from heaven. He was blinded by this light. He heard these words from Jesus from heaven. And that changed everything for him, because he knew that at the very moment where he was trying to stamp out the church, Jesus called him to follow him. So Paul had tried his whole life to be religiously perfect, to follow all of the rules, to have all of the symbols, all of the belonging that he could. And it's actually in spite of that, or despite all of his persecution, that Jesus spoke into his life and called Paul, of all people, to follow him. And so Paul knew that you could not add anything to this gospel of Jesus. You couldn't add anything to the cross of Jesus, that it was pure gift, pure grace by which Jesus calls people to follow him. And therefore, any religious distinctives no longer mattered. So we might want to update this and say, like, literally, it does not matter if you have been a Christian for a day or if you are the Archbishop of Canterbury. It is all grace, and there is no distinction between the two. It really doesn't matter. One is not more holy than the other. All are called under Jesus. And then the social barriers, saying, again, really scandalously, in a world in which you were either a bondservant, a slave, and essentially were owned by someone else, and you could eventually work your way out of it, or you were a freed person, which gave you, all kinds of rights and extra status. So very deliberately picking up on people who had, like, bottom of the barrel, zero status in society, and those who were free and could determine their future and had all of this status and all of these rights, and said there's no difference between the two of you. So today, Paul might write to someone who is on benefits and someone who is a CEO, and say there's no difference between the two of you. What matters is Jesus and following him wherever you are. And, and that is the implication of this. And he says it in 3 verses in this short passage. So verse 17, each one should retain the place in life that the Lord assigned to them and to which God has called them. And then verse 20, each one should remain in the situation in which they were when God called them. And then finally, verse 24, each one, as responsible to God, should remain in the situation to which God has called them. So 3 times in a short passage, stay where you are, stay where you are, stay where you are, because wherever you are and whatever you do in life, that is what God has called you to. And, there is not a more holy vocation out there or something that's going to give you any more status than everything you already have. So, you can't go and do something that will make you, more holy, more religious. Someone who does a job like me is not more holy than Mike, who works in the hospital, or Sam in the various roles she does around the home and at work and all those kind of things. That there is no difference. What matters is whether you do those things for Jesus or not. And then in terms of status, there is nothing to be earned from climbing the social ladder or climbing the career ladder. One job does not have any more status than any other, because what matters is whether you do those things in Jesus or not. So if social standing doesn't count and religious standing doesn't count, what does count? Well, the answer is given to us in verse 19. Circumcision is nothing, so religious standing is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing. Keeping God's commands is what counts. So not your standing in society or your relationship status or your job status, but obedience is what matters. It would be really easy to take the thinking of a passage like this and go, okay, Religious standing doesn't count. Social standing doesn't count. Might as well lay back and do nothing. Whatever I do doesn't count anymore. And to counter that, Paul puts this sentence right in the middle of this passage saying, but something does matter. And that is obeying God's commands, following the way of Jesus, doing what Jesus would do in those different roles of your life. It matters how you do your life. The way that you do your life does matter. So while the world might have a ladder of importance and status, this person's more important than that person, Jesus does not have that. Instead, what he is looking for is obedience. And that is the proper response to this free gift that Jesus gave us. It's a line from Tim Keller that I've always found really helpful, is that essentially the order is everything. Religion says, if you obey and you're a really good person, then you will belong. But Jesus comes and says, you belong, and so therefore we obey. Jesus welcomes us into the family, and so therefore we take on the family likeness. It's not allowing us in once we've reached a certain moral standard, but we are in, and so therefore we live up to that standard that we have been given. And, if we put all of this together, that, ordinary life is the place where discipleship happens, and it can't happen anywhere else. That's what Jesus is saying, is like, I have called you to follow me, and I've given you the place where you are to do it. And that is essentially saying you don't have anywhere else to do discipleship other than the roles that you fulfill in your family, amongst your friendships, and at work. That is where your discipleship happens. And if it only happens on a Sunday, and if it only happens on midweek on Zoom, if they're the only places where Jesus comes into your life, then you are not following Jesus, because he gave you the place to follow him. And that is in your friendships, family, your roles, your job, everything you do in life. That's where you follow Jesus. So if ordinary everyday life is where discipleship happens, and if it's obedience is the thing that really counts, then we put those together and we find that it is obedience to Jesus, being with Jesus, becoming like Jesus, doing what he did in the ordinary reality is what changes the world. And that sounds like over the top, it sounds like hyperbole, but it's literally what happened. The church was a bunch of nobodies from nowhere, kind of with no social standing, no real money, certainly no power behind them. And all it was a movement of people following Jesus in their everyday lives. And it grew like no movement has ever done before or since. No movement has grown that quickly, affected that many different people from so many diverse backgrounds and cultures, hasn't transformed so many things as that has. The church went from a group of nobodies in an obscure part of the world to the greatest movement that the world had ever known in just 300 years. And it wasn't done through power moves. And you can look into the history of this, and there's some fascinating books on it. It wasn't done through power. It wasn't done through money. It wasn't done through influence. It was done by ordinary people living like Jesus in the very settings to which Jesus had called them in their everyday lives. So if you think about the roles that you fulfill, maybe, 4 or 5 of them, a role within family and friendship, at work, all those kind of things, your role at church, that is no accident. And no one else can be like Jesus in that role other than you. Jesus has called you to that place and to be like Jesus in that place. And as we said before, that might change throughout your life, but the main thing is dealing with where Jesus has put you today and following him right there. And Jesus has transformed each of those roles, each of those relationships, so that you can be like him in that role. So, for example, for myself, top of my list is disciple of Jesus. You can call that whatever you want, being a Christian, whatever. Second is being a husband. Then it's being a friend and family member, and then it's being a church minister, my other role in life. And the order is really important in this. So one is clarity. One is knowing which few roles can I do well? Because if you wrote 10 roles down, for example, you're a single human being and you cannot do all of those things well. So we need to get clarity. We need to get that list down to the few things that we can do well. So I've got like 4 or 5 roles when I write it down, because that's all that I can do well. I can't do more than that well. And then really important is to put Jesus at the top of that list, but not just at the top of the list, really encompassing the whole list. When we were listening to Mike and Sam before describe their life and juggling all these different roles while being Christians, what was really interesting was, like, for Mike, it was important to have some sharp lines between those things. So not to bring work home with him and to make sure that he left work at the right time. But those lines didn't exist when it came to faith. And that's really important, because following Jesus transforms every single one of those. So it's not just that, following Jesus is at the top of the list. Like, it is the list. Everything is following Jesus. This idea is called ordered loves. Jesus put it really simply. He said, the 2 greatest commandments were to love the Lord your God with all that you are first, and then to love your neighbor, whoever you come across, as yourself. And it was important that those 2 be followed in order. One allowed the other. And so it is that our lists come in a certain order. And most of the big regrets in life around the roles that we play is when we get them in the wrong order. Super common at the end of life, or hopefully before life, to hear people say how much they regret elevating work above family. That's a super common one. And that's all about the ordering of things. We have to have a job. That's really important. That's an important part of who we are. We're meant to create and produce and put things into the world. But when that becomes more important than our friends and family relationships, things go wonky. And if God is not on the top and surrounding that list, then the whole thing doesn't work at all. So this whole idea of getting clarity on the roles that we play and making sure that every single one of them is about following Jesus wherever we are helps people at both ends of life. So at the first half of life, in your 20s and maybe up to your mid 30s, where you're trying to find some meaning in life and you are trying to find some purpose and some direction, this passage comes to us and says, no matter what you do, literally no matter what you do, whether that's working in McDonald's or running a company, it can be deeply meaningful, and it will be deeply meaningful if you do it for Jesus. If you bring the presence of Jesus into that place, it will be meaningful, which really challenges the gospel of upward mobility that our culture has, that you have to be doing the thing you love and you have to be rising up in it and getting better and better at it, and then that's when you'll find fulfillment. This passage comes along and says, no, whatever you do can be deeply meaningful if you do it for Jesus. In the other half of life, kind of mid-30s onwards, or earlier for some people, this reminds us that we have limits, that we aren't supposed to be all things to all people, but actually we just do a few things well. We're not meant to be burning out and pushing ourselves beyond our limits. God created us finite, and God gave us a garden to tend to. God gave us a few roles to do, and we are supposed to attend to those few things well and not overreach our natural boundaries and burn ourselves out and work too hard and end up frustrated and stressed, but rather just do the few things that God has already given us well. And if we're faithful in those few things, Jesus might give us some more things down the road, but that's not for us to worry about, just the things that Jesus has put in front of us for now. So what if Jesus was cast in the role of your life? How would he play those different roles? What would he bring to them? I find it really interesting that I was listening to a leadership podcast, and it was exploring the different levels of leadership and how some leaders bring about the biggest change in their organizations. And this was based on lots and lots of research. And the thing that was really interesting about it was basically the base level of leadership, like the least effective way to influence others and bring about positive change, was to insist upon your job title. That's basically the bottom rung, is to say, I'm more important than you, therefore you have to do what I say. And good leaders very seldom have to call upon that base level of leadership. And it's doubly interesting when you consider Jesus, who never had an official title. People called him rabbi, but that was an informal title. It just meant he was a teacher. People recognized him as a good teacher and followed him around because of that, as someone who trained other people up. He had no official status, had no business card, had no organization to point to and say, I belong to that. And yet he was the most influential person who ever lived. Which again lends itself to this idea that no matter what it is that you do, wherever God has put you, wherever your social standing might be, it can be deeply meaningful. It can be transformed if you bring the presence of Jesus into that role. Now, if you want to explore that some more, this is exactly what we're going to be looking at on Wednesday night. So you can join us for that. And we're going to do a few little exercises about breaking down what our roles are in life and what it would look like to follow Jesus in each of those roles. So join us on Wednesday nights if you normally do. And if you don't and you'd like to join us for that, just head to our website, storyhouse.community/connect. Fill out the form there and we will send you a link for that on Wednesday night. But for now, we are going to pray for ourselves and for our community and listen to what God has been saying. So I'm going to invite Laura and Sam and Mike back on to join us in some prayers.
Awesome. And Toby.
And Toby. So Toby.
Okay. Let's pray.
So let's pray.
Just as Dave was speaking, I was thinking about there may be some people who are listening who are in a place they don't want to be, whether it's through a place that they're scared in. It could be a difficult relationship, the breakdown of a relationship. It could be a job that makes them very, very unhappy. It could be unemployment. It could be physical. It could be that you're limited through ill health. Or like struggle with mental health or anxiety at the moment, and you're in a place that you don't want to be in, and just really want to pray for you today. Lord, we pray for anyone who feels that they're in a place they want to get out of, whatever that might look like. And Lord, I just pray that they would find you in that place. That, Lord, you promise that you'll never leave us or forsake us. And so, Father, I ask that through your Spirit, you would reveal where you are in that place. That, firstly, that there would be, like, in realizing that we're all part of a bigger story, that even if we're in a place where we don't want to be, that, God, that you still have a purpose for us in those places. Whether you can't get out of a chair, whether you feel lonely and a relationship or hurt by a relationship that's broken down, whatever it might look like, that, Lord, actually you do not waste any experience, but that you, if we come to you, you can use that experience to make us more like you and to set us free from some of the things that bind us. So, Lord, I pray for freedom. I pray that anyone who feels like they're in a place they don't want to be, that you would bring them into a place of freedom and healing, that you would help them to seek out others who can encourage them and support them and pray for them. And, Lord, give them hope that life won't always be this way, that they would know that in the future there will be change. It may not look like they wanted to, but that, God, you'll be with them now and in the future. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, Lord, I just want to pray for wisdom for anyone who is in one of those really difficult circumstances and doesn't know how to live as you would. They like the idea, but they don't know what that looks like. That you would provide that wisdom, that as you promised, that you would even provide the words when the difficult situations arise in the moment. Your Holy Spirit would provide the words and provide the actions in order to represent you well, whether that's in a relationship or at work or wherever it may be. that you would help people in that and provide everything that's needed as and when it is needed.
Amen.
You know, in times of uncertainty and not really knowing if you're going in the right direction or where God's called you to be, I am always reminded of the story of Jonah and how he decided he was going to go off and do his own thing, only to cut a long story short, got swallowed by a big fish and then got spat back up on land and ended up where he needed to be anyway. So I guess just to encourage anybody who kind of feels like that and feels like they're not really going in the right place. I'm not saying that you're about to get swallowed by a big fish, but God will get you where you need to be. You just need to trust him. So I just want to pray into that, God, for anyone who is feeling a little bit lost at the moment and not really sure that they're in the right place, in the right situation. They really feel like they've gone off track. God, we pray that you come and give guidance, and mostly that you just bring your sense of peace into these situations, God. Thank you that we can always come back to you no matter how far we maybe feel like we've gone, no matter how lost we feel. God, that you're always there and you're always there to pick us back up again and to guide us in the right place, and that you have that peace that just sometimes doesn't even make sense in an earthly sense at all. But you give us that peace of mind to know that as long as we're with you, then we're doing okay. So I just pray that for everybody this week, God, and amongst all the uncertainty going on in the world at the moment, Lord, that we would see your peace around us. Amen.
Amen.
Lord, I just pray that you will, in all of us who are kind of listening and taking part, this should be growing the fruit of your spirit in our lives. And Lord, we may look at our situations that we're in and think, how do we serve you? What big things do we do? But actually loving people and being kind and being gentle is all the things that you want us to do well, Lord. And just let us realize the importance of these very small things that we do, every little decision, every time you smile at someone or are nice to someone when you don't really feel like it, Lord, that we are honoring you with that and doing what pleases you. I just pray, Lord, that you fill the whole of our lives with the knowledge of what you want us to do, even on the very kind of small details. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so we're going to end with a final song from Soul Survivor again. This one's called Forever. So again, either soak in this or sing along at home.
Sun was dead, the Savior of the world was fallen. His body on the cross, his blood poured out for us, the weight of every curse upon him. Breath he gave as heaven looked away.
Amazing. That's such a great song. It, like when they're singing like Hallelujah and like the Lamb has overcome, it's kind of sometimes when we're playing out the roles in our lives, we can feel like other people's opinions or like the way the world thinks we should be can have more power over us than Jesus. And just that declaration of praise is an act of faith that actually Jesus has overcome and that his opinion of us matters more than anything else that is spoken over us in this world. So just really pray that that victory that Jesus has would be something that you would carry out with you into this week. And so thank you for joining us. It's been great to have you with us. Thank you, Sam and Mike, for sharing. Thank you, Laura, for doing a Bible reading and praying. We've had Victoria shared, we were talking earlier about which actor would you like to play you in a film of your life, and Laura said, Victoria said Emily Blunt with a bit of Bridget Jones, which is brilliant.
Nice.
A nice combination. Again, I think the Bridget Jones is like the clumsiness of that kind of character. Next week we have the picnic, so do sign up for the picnic. Go onto our website, storyhouse.community/picnic, and tonight we have prayer and worship. We'll be meeting in the cafe. Prayer and worship starts at 7:30, but if you want to come for a coffee beforehand, do come between 7 and 20 past. If you can't join us in person, that is absolutely fine, and we will be doing it through Zoom as well. And so we'll be using the same link that we normally use for church. But if you need, if you want to join us, you don't have the Zoom link, then do contact us, storyhouse.community/connect, and we will send you the link.
Indeed.
Amazing. Other than that, we will be here next week.
We will indeed.
Same time, same place. But yeah, thanks for joining us. We hope you have a great week. And do join us on Wednesday if you'd like to talk more about roles and explore where God's kind of placed you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
I think that's everything. Thank you.
See everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.